since 1993. You got to check out his podcast, On the Ball, with Ric Bucher. Rick, we very much appreciate the time. We would start any franchise with you. The story of Team USA practice yesterday was Cooper Flagg, 17 years old. This is an old Team USA team. Do you think Cooper Flagg has a shot to be the future face of Team USA basketball?
Yeah, I would say he does, simply because right now we have a dearth of generational or franchise-type American players. So if you look at the talent in the NBA right now, it's all foreign. Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, go down the line. And really, if we're looking for a face of the NBA and a leader of the next Team USA, Cooper Flagg is the hope among the GMs and the scouts and the executives that I've spoken to. So yes, I'm not going to take anything away from this scrimmage, because this looked like it had a Drew League intensity from the from Team USA. But nonetheless, from what I hear about the scouting reports on Cooper, is, while I wouldn't put him at the Wembanyama level in terms of a generational player, the belief is that he's certainly a franchise-type player, and we'll see if he lives up to that potential.
Wembanyama kind of ruined it a little bit. I've never seen anyone do what he can do on a basketball floor. So if I'm a fan of the Nets or the Jazz or whomever gets Cooper Flagg, it's like, it's exciting, but it's not Wembanyama. He kind of changed the calculus here, didn't he?
Yeah, he did as far as star players are concerned, but I think the new calculus in terms of winning championships and going far really isn't just about having 1, 2, or 3 great players. It's about having depth and versatility. If we look at the Boston Celtics, I think they fit that profile. If you go back through the last few years, even the Denver Nuggets, I mean, we in retrospect will build big threes out of championship teams. We did it with the Milwaukee Bucks. We were never talking about Chris Middleton as being a big three type player, or certainly Drew Holiday. And then they win a championship and it's like, oh yeah, that's their big three. So I think it's a matter of convenience that we, in hindsight, keep backing into these teams are built out of big threes. I had this conversation with Thunder GM Sam Presti 5-6 years ago, where he felt that the dynamic was changing and that to be successful in the league going forward with load management and everything else, that your versatility as a team, as opposed to being top heavy, was going to be the difference maker. And I believe Sam is right.
So in terms of depth, we just saw that with the Celtics. That was obviously incredibly valuable. This Team USA team is as deep as any that I've ever seen. You know, we've seen teams with JaVale McGee or Tayshaun Prince or Michael Redd. Nice players, but I mean, is the 11th or 12th man on this team Tyrese Halliburton? You know, is it Devin Booker? How do you think this team ranks to the historic Team USA teams of the past?
Well, we should never try to compare to the Dream Team. We should just take that and put that aside, because that was not only a shock to the international system and having all of the NBA greats playing, but the vast majority of them were in their prime. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson. I mean, Larry Bird at 35 was the old man on that team with, understandably, a bad back. But outside of that, it was all the best players in the league, outside of Christian Laettner, that were in their absolute prime. So I actually think that this is a big challenge for Steve Kerr, not only because of the depth of talent, but figuring out how these pieces fit together. You really only have 2 bona fide, pure playmakers in LeBron James and Tyrese Halliburton. And then you have a load of different strengths with KD or Bam Adebayo. Joel Embiid has never played with this much talent. And you've got to get all this up to speed in a matter of weeks, playing against teams internationally that are no longer intimidated by Team USA and that have been playing together in some cases for decades. So it's not just the pure talent. It's the experience, the collective experience. And I would look in trying to build this team or the rotation, I would build it on guys that are familiar with each other. Tyrese Halliburton and Anthony Edwards played together in the World Cup last summer. Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum obviously just won a championship together. I think the familiarity among some of the pieces is going to play larger in terms of the success than simply putting the biggest and best names out on the floor.
So who would your starting five be?
I had thought long and hard about this, and I guarantee you my starting five will not be the starting five. But I would go with Steph Curry, Drew Holiday in the backcourt, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. And
no KD.
The reason that I'm going with Tatum and Holiday, no KD. And the problem is if I put KD in, I'm probably taking LeBron James out. But I like having LeBron James sort of play that Draymond Green role with Steph Curry. And then defensively, I've got to have Tatum and Holiday on the floor. And Embiid is just simply, I need to find out what he is and how much he can give me, but chances are that he's going to play a very big role, because the one reason why Team USA has struggled the last few years is that we simply have not been able to match up with the most quality bigs internationally. And I would hope that Embiid allows us to do that.
You know, you're saying that it's going to be tough for Steve Kerr to find the matchups and the lineups that work. That is certainly a problem of luxury, right? Sounds like one of them good problems. Because I look at it and I'm like, what's the weakness?
Yeah.
Now that Embiid can be on the team, it's like, all right, well, it's not size. You've got Bam and AD and Embiid. KD and Steph still playing. It means it's definitely not shooting. You got Steph, KD, you got Booker.
Yep.
You perimeter defense, you mentioned Tatum. You have Kawhi and Drew Holiday. LeBron is still there. What is a possible weakness for this team? Because frankly, I don't see one.
I think it's pace because of the age of this roster. If teams are going to play with pace and they move the ball and they're making LeBron James and Steph Curry and even KD move their feet in the way that international teams do, and forcing us to rotate and then getting up and down, that's where I could see. And again, we have depth so that we can certainly, we don't have to play those guys heavy minutes, but the speed of the game and the familiarity, if you go back and watch the World Cup last summer, it wasn't that they had great talent. The ball just never stops. Bodies never stop. And that just ultimately, we're not used to play. We play so much isolation basketball in the NBA today. Guys just aren't physically or mentally conditioned to have to defend where you're constantly moving and your guy is constantly moving. And that, to me, is the one hole in it, because not only do you have to move and be physically ready to do all that, but you have to be sort of mentally connected so that everybody knows where everybody's going and you're rotating on time. That's the weakness that I see, and that's the weakness that we've had for the last umpteen years, which is international teams are familiar with the rules, they're familiar with the referees, and they're familiar with each other in a way that we are not. And so it takes us a beat or two to get up to speed with that. And just the question is, can we get up to speed with that in time?
A couple of quick NBA things for you before we let you go. You mentioned Tatum. He said that championship ends the debate on whether or not he's elite, that, polarizing buzzword of the sports take industrial complex. I mean, he was first team All-NBA, so I don't know how disrespected he could possibly feel. Yep. Do you believe that he has ended any debate about his merits in that top pantheon?
Danny, what is it? I don't know what this is. Maybe, we blame LeBron for everything, right? So I'm going to blame him here. LeBron anointing himself the greatest ever. When did we start this? You don't unilaterally get to decide, I am this, right? Or the debate over me is this. It's like, no, you go out, you do what you do, and then the fans and the media and ex-players and your colleague, like everybody else decides where you fit into the universe. So I'll just look at how Steph Curry winning a finals MVP for all that he had accomplished. That was like that last cherry. And if I'm going to think of players, I mean, we all have our own definition of elite. If elite is you led a team to a championship, I mean, that's a fair kind of baseline elite, no? I mean, if we go elite 10, 20 players, Jason Tatum was probably in that mix already in terms of the league. Elite, championship caliber players who have led a team to a championship. He didn't win finals MVP. So I think it's still debatable. Anybody who wants to say he's elite, I'm not going to fight you on that. Am I going to say he's hit the same level as LeBron or even KD or Steph or that rung of elite? I don't believe that Tatum is there yet. I do believe that he still has plenty of time to get there, though. So my biggest issue is guys just unilaterally going, yeah, you know what? I'm this. Like, that's not how it works, Danny. You and I have a job here. Part of it is like your top 10 franchise quarterbacks, right?
It's a great list.
You don't get Joe Burrow like going, yeah, I'm a top 5, right? That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, like don't give yourself your nickname. Someone else has to give you the nickname.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't in all our jobs, we don't get to pick a title. Like let our bosses know, hey, by the way, this is what I'd like to be called. I don't know, maybe you have that. I have never.
Oh yeah.
I have yet to run into that. That is not.
Yeah, they're changing the Herd, Danny Parkins. It's all of them. No, wait, there's Colin's name everywhere in the studio. Yeah, no, I am a guest.
I had to start I had to start a podcast in order to get my name on it the way I wanted it. So there you go.
I think you're the first one to start a podcast. So good job being in on the ground floor of that medium. Hey, speaking of a podcast, last thing for you, Rick. LeBron got his podcast co-host hired, although he claims that he didn't. And he claims that he doesn't have a ton of influence over the Lakers, but they drafted his son and his other favorite player in college basketball. Like, I got no problem with it. He's LeBron James. You got your son drafted. You got your podcast host hired, or you at least tacitly acknowledge that you're cool with it. Why do we have to pretend like LeBron doesn't have a ton of influence over the Lakers?
I don't know. I don't. Well, I mean, the rationale for saying I didn't have anything to do with it is then you're not accountable for when it doesn't, if and when it doesn't work.
But nobody believes it.
But I understood. I understood. It insults all of our intelligence. And I would feel much better, and I would have no problem with it if LeBron said, yeah, I thought JJ is the guy that we should hire. Or, you know what, Brownie's going to prove you guys wrong. Or simply, I had an opportunity. Here's the real honest, I think the most honest part of it. Again, I would have absolutely no problem with it. I have no problem with it, other than like just call it the way it is, and to say, hey, I had an opportunity to set it up where I could play with my son in the NBA and be the first father-son combo, and so I went ahead and I utilized my resources and my influence to make that happen.
100%.
I don't have a problem with that. And honestly, with the Lakers right now, anything that LeBron does, whatever drama it may be, I'm not measuring it on whether it gets them any closer to a championship, because I don't think they're championship material. So the only interesting thing about the Lakers is whatever LeBron happens to be doing. So I'm okay with it.
Great stuff, Rick. And people absolutely should check out your podcast, On the Ball with Ric Bucher. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Danny.